Welcome to Power Yoga this morning. I'm so glad that you are all here. I'm grateful for the opportunity to share this class with each and every one of you, to be a part of this class with you. It's not just me guiding the way, it's us doing this together, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to do so. Very nice. Good. So we're going to go ahead and just start by finding a comfortable spot. If you're following along with my music playlist, it's number 32. I had said 38, but the actual link is 32 that I sent. So just click the link, it'll take you to the right one. If you're following along the Apple playlist, also I get some other recommendations in there as well. Some nice music that will go along with some yoga. Very nice. All right, let's go ahead and find that comfortable spot and just get settled in. That could be a seated position. That could be a lying down position. And as we begin with our practice today, just allow ourselves to first take note of our breath. Finding the joy of our breath as we inhale and exhale. And with that breath, we initially just want to experience what that breath is feeling like today. And then we want to try to hear the audible sounds of that breath. And then try to discover the physicality of that breath. What's it doing to our body as we breathe in and out? Just take note. Deliberately starting to think about what that breath is doing. What this allows us to do is start to come into the moment, to be right here, to make sure that we're 100% and fully committed to our practice today and on our mats. The theme today is joy, is to express our joy. Oftentimes we feel like we have to pursue joy. We have to go out and find things that bring joy into our lives. But we can also let our life just be the expression of the joys that we already have. That begins with finding gratitude. That begins with starting each day being thankful for where we're at and what we have. And so finding those elements of joy. But also to bring about some of those elements of joy. Again, not necessarily pursuing it, but practicing joy. And to build joy within ourselves and continue to kind of bring that about and remind us of things that we're joyful for, we can do things that are joyful acts. So things that bring us joy, whether that's some solace, some solitude, reading, or taking a moment to impart in an act that really brings joy to our life, whether that's donating our time, donating our presence, donating our money. But one of the biggest joyful acts that we can do is to take care of ourselves. And that's something that brings great joy, because when we feel good, and that's not only physically, but when we feel good physically, that also permeates into our mindset, into our emotional sets. It brings about a complete feeling of joy. And so as we consider this word, this simple 3-letter word, joy, today, think about how we find joy in our practice. How joy is one of those joyful acts, or yoga is one of those joyful acts that helps discover just a little bit more joy in our lives. And of course, we don't discover joy when we're struggling with poses. We don't discover joy when we're going beyond where our body's designed to move. That's called pain. And we don't want to discover pain in our practice. We want to seek out those joyful moments, okay? Not necessarily the pursuit of joy, but the expression of joy. And we express that by honoring our bodies, by moving our bodies in a way that is helpful, that feels right and feels good. Not worrying about any judgments, not worrying about what others might think, not worrying about what you think about your expression of the pose. Express joy in your pose today. Very nice. Let's begin our physical practice in a seated position. And we'll start with a little pranayama, a little breath work. And this is a warming breath today. A lot of times we start with a cooling breath, but this one's a warming breath. It's called Ujjayi breath, and it's breathing in as deeply as we can through the nose and exhaling forcibly through the mouth like we're fogging up a mirror. Some of you might have heard it as like a Darth Vader breath. So we breathe in and fill those lungs as much as we can, and then let that breath go. And then breathe in. Fill as much as you can, and then just let it go. Fog up that mirror. Force that air out, almost like a sigh. And just continue that breath pattern. Allowing yourself to feel the expression of that breath, allowing yourself to hear the expression of that breath, especially on the exhale. Make that big sighing noise. And continue to do this for about 5 more cycles. I'm going to turn the lights up, and we're going to get moving into our physical practice today. Continuing with that nice deep inhale and exhale. And one last time, how about it? Inhale in, and then let it go. And then we'll start imparting on our 3-part breath in through the nose and mouth, equal ratio breath, and then find our hands and knees. I'm going to turn just a little bit at an angle and then eventually onto the side. So as we find our hands and knees, shoulders right above those hands, dig in those hands a little bit so that the centers of our palms lift up and our hands are strong and our wrists are strong, and then hips right above those knees. And begin rocking in the circle. Just pick any direction on that circle. Draw those shoulders in front of those fingertips and those hips a little bit more towards those heels. And let's continue to practice that 3-part breath. Deep inhale and exhale. Not necessarily connecting movement and breath, but let's find that breath while we're moving in these circles. Go ahead and switch directions on these circles. Good. Now I'm going to turn to the side right here. Keep those circles going for just a moment. We're going to move towards puppy dog pose. So with our hips, we want to keep our hips right above our knees. You can curl your toes if you want to get a little stretch through those arches and heels. And then we're going to bring our chest down closer to the ground, the bridge of our nose down, and our fingertips way out forward. Again, keeping those hips hovering up and our tailbone up toward the sky. And as we get those hands down to the ground, go ahead and come onto the fingertips of those hands, arching the palms of our hands, making what we call cupcake hands. And then turn your triceps down towards the mat and your biceps up toward the ceiling, and sink in and breathe. That 3-part deep breath. Feel the lungs expand and contract. And then with both of those hands, walk them over to the right corner of our mat and keep those hips nice and tall into the sky, just hovering above those knees. Breathe in and release. And then same thing to the other side. And breathe in and release. Very nice. As we walk back just a little bit to those all fours position, I'm going to face you now. Okay, hips still right above those knees, shoulders over hands. Bring that right hand forward, thumb up toward the sky, and that left heel to the back of the room, keeping our hips and shoulders as square as we can to the mat and the floor beneath us. On the next exhale, just set that right hand down the left knee, and then lift that left hand up and press that right heel or toes back. Good. And then we'll just flow through this. Exhale as we come down towards the ground. Inhale as we lift up toward the sky. Actually, we're just reaching forward and back right now, lengthening our body. And then flow through this at the pace of your breath. Inhale on the reach. Exhale as we come on down. Then, when we're comfortable, we can add a little height through those thumbs and those heels so that we feel our glutes squeeze, we feel our lower back engage, we feel that space between our shoulders engage, and those muscles that border our spine connect down to our lower back. Good. One more time on each side. Next time we find that right hand and that left foot back, hold it up, hold it up. And then a little awkward balance now. So bring that right hand to the right side, and you know what's coming. Bring that left foot to the left side and hold right there. We're going to have a little variation to this. We're going to take that left knee, we're going to bend it, try and tap our left elbow, and press that foot back out to the side. Bring it in and out. So much core work right here. Trying to stay square. 2 more times. Exhale on the connect, and inhale on the reach. Let's come back front and center, and exhale down. Whoa, what was that? Nice. Left hand forward, right heel back, and that left hand now points to the left side of the room, and right foot to the right side. Good, you know what's coming. A little knee bend. Bring that right knee towards our right elbow. Bring it in and out. Total of 5. Total of 5. Good. When we are done, right there. Perfect. Good. Set both knees down and hands down. And let's take that right hand now, okay, and reach it up toward the sky. And then we're going to thread that right hand underneath our left armpits. And bringing that hand back towards our left hip pocket at an angle, we're going to come down on to that right arm and just rest the right side of our head on our mat. Hips towards the heels here, toes curled or on the shoelace side of our foot. So just gently resting on the right side of our head, and you can walk that left arm forward, creep those fingertips forward to feel an even deeper stretch through that left shoulder. Nice gentle stretch on that right side. I'm going to turn to the side on this one. Good, staying right there. And then with that left hand, reach it up toward the sky. Now just watch your neck. Make sure that right side of your head is not getting too much pressure. Okay, and we can either keep that left hand up toward the sky or bring that left hand, just set it on our tailbone or wrap it around our waist. And just try to look up now as we bring that left shoulder up toward the sky for a little rotation. Now you might feel on that right side, that back of that right hand and that shoulder pressing in. A little strengthener right there versus a stretch. So we just transitioned to that. Good. As we come down, bring that left hand back forward, and then we're going to switch the other side. Back to all fours. Back to all fours. And that left hand now reaches up nice and high. Go ahead and thread that needle. Left hand underneath that right. Again, that left hand's coming back at an angle towards our right hip pocket just a little bit, and then we walk the right hands forward. Good. I'm going to stay head on this time. You're probably not looking anyway, and that's okay. Just trust my voice. Get a nice gentle stretch on the front of that left shoulder. You're welcome to stay right here or on that left side of our head. Just make sure it feels okay. Be aware, engage our core a little bit, and then float that right hand up toward the sky. And if you want, bring it to our tailbone or wrap it around our waist, and then try to open up our heart a little bit more to the sky. Lifting that right shoulder a little bit higher, maybe even peeking at that right shoulder just a little bit out of the corner of our eye. Good. Still deep breaths right here. Breathe it in. And exhale and release. Whew. All right. Let's come right back. Unravel from that and back to all fours. Good. I'm going to turn to the side now. From all fours, let's go ahead and curl our toes if we're not doing that already. My knees are still about hip distance apart and my feet are the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit my hips back onto my heels here. Okay, so just come all the way back and just sit back. So this is just a variation of hero's pose, hero's pose. And initially fanning those arms up and making steeple fingers. Reaching nice and tall. This is a good stretch for our knees, the top of our quads, and of course we're probably feeling it because those toes are curled into our calves, our arches, and our heels. Excellent. And now let's bring those hands behind our back, interlocking those fingers. Create a little interlock on those fingers. If that's a challenge for you, just rest those hands on your hips. And as we interlock those fingers, draw those hands past our tailbone and bring our shoulders down and away from our ears, lifting our heart up to the sky, and then taking a peek up a little bit, arching our lower back. Breathe through this. Squeeze those shoulder blades together. Feel that squeeze. And while we're squeezing, we're strengthening back there, but we're lengthening through our chest and our shoulders. Very nice. All right. That's preparing us for what's coming a little bit in the future here. One of those is coming really soon. So let's release those hands and then walk those hands forward. Keep those toes curled. Keep those toes curled, and we're going to come up onto our feet, but watch how we do this. We're going to walk our hands towards our knees. Then we're going to begin lifting our knees off the ground. Keep walking those hands towards your feet now. Now stand up on those toes. Don't let those heels drop. And we're going to sweep those hands up, staying on those on those toes, not those heels. Unless that bothers you, then don't. Okay, sweep up, sweep up, sweep up. Inhale, inhale. Bring our hands together in prayer. Exhale, drop the heels on down. Great job. Great job. I'm going to stay standing sideways here just for this moment, okay? My feet are about hip distance apart, and we're going to do a standing version of camel pose. So I'm going to take my hands into fists and bring those hands right there at my tailbone, just right on either side of my tailbone, okay? And then I'm going to start drawing my elbows back, like I'm trying to touch them together behind me. Okay, and as I do that, push those hands into that tailbone and drive your hips forward. And then lengthen your spine, breathe up nice and tall as you can, and then arch back like you're a rainbow. So first get the length of the spine, and then arch back and keep pressing those hands in. Keeping those hips hovering above those legs or even in front of those ankles, pressing forward. And again, that nice squeeze between those shoulder blades and lengthening right to the top of our upper body, through those chest and shoulders. As we exhale, release those elbows out first, fan them out, and come right back front and center. Good. All right. We're just going to add a little gentle twist now. So inhale up, and then just twist to the right. And inhale up, and twist to the left. Now let's do that a couple times. Big inhales. Practice that 3-part breath. Practice the deep inhales and the exhales here. Get back to it if you forgot about that breath. There's nothing wrong with forgetting about that breath. Inhale and exhale. Stay nice and tall as we rotate one more time, either direction. Good. And you stay facing me. I'm going to turn again back to the side. We'll come right back to heart center. Feet still about hip distance apart. So inhale those hands up nice and tall. Nice and tall. And then exhale, long spine, long spine. Fan those arms out. Keep the length of that spine nice and long. Hands back by the hips and stop halfway. Stop halfway, airplane pose. The whole foot stays right on the ground. Palms are either up or down, it doesn't matter. But just think about a nice long line from the crown of our head through to our tailbone. Soft bend in those knees. And imagine that tailbone sitting on the back wall behind you. That nice dynamic stretch up the back of our legs into our glutes and eventually into our lower back. Good. Take a nice big inhale here. And then we'll exhale and release all the way down. Release all the way down. Either bring in those fingertips down towards the ground, up on the legs, or use a block and bring that ground a little bit closer to your hands, okay? As I always say, we're not in the business of growing arms in yoga, and so find a way to bring the floor to you. That's how we make it happen. All right. So from this forward fold, we're going to hang out here for a little bit, but I'm going to guide us through what's called gorilla pose, which is a really nice way to get into forward fold. So put a little bit deeper bend in those knees. Gorilla pose, we're going to bring the palms of our hands underneath our feet. So the back of our hands are on our mat, and then we crawl our toes all the way up to our wrists and step on the palms of our hands. And then once you get those hands positioned the right way, you can begin lengthening those legs just a little bit, finding the joy in the pose. Be careful not to overdo it. And then just enjoy how it feels on the hands. It's almost like a massage for the hands. It's a unique way to kind of get those hands feeling pretty good and loosening up into our palms. Good. Just a little bit. I'm just rocking a little bit forward and back onto those hands. Yeah. Good. All right. Now let's bring those hands out from our feet. Good. We can walk those hands forward into our mats and step those feet back. Let's find plank position. Let's come to our knees just for a moment and then press back for child's pose. Child's pose. Those knees a little bit wider than those feet, hips to the heels, bridge of our nose onto our mat and walk those hands forward. Good. Take a moment to reconnect back with our breath right here. Just a moment to kind of just settle in and see how it is we feel. Awesome. I'm going to switch over to the other side, and then we're going to continue on. So from here, we're going to find downward facing dog. So spread those fingers out, curl those toes, find that plank position, and without moving those hands or feet, lift those ears between the arms and hips up toward the sky. Hips up toward the sky. Good. And from down dog, we're going to add just a little bit of a hip opener right here. So we're going to bring our right foot up and keep a bend in the knee. Keep a bend in the knee. And maybe open the hip up just a little bit. And then with that right foot, begin drawing a circle with the knee. Drawing a circle with the knee. Now watch the arms here, because one of those arms will get a little soft. Okay, typically the left arm, if you've got the right foot up in the sky, will get soft. Okay, so just draw that circle, maybe switch directions on that circle, and if it's comfortable, lengthen the leg, create a long leg and circle. Good. All right. Same thing on the other side. Set that right foot down and bring that left foot up. Again, open the hip here, a little bend in the knee at first, and start drawing a circle with that left knee. When you're ready for it, go ahead and switch directions. And if you're ready for it, lengthen that left leg. Very nice. Let's bring both feet on the ground. Good. And a little bend in our knees as we step forward towards our hands. Sweeping those hands up nice and tall, and then exhale as we come right back to heart center. Now let's engage in our Sun A flows now. So as we inhale up, shoot those hands up, and exhale, and forward fold down. Nice long spine as we come down. Inhale, drape our hands across those shins, rest below our knees for that flat back, just like that airplane pose, flat back. As we exhale, set those hands down, step back to plank position. Now you can always go right from here to downward facing dog, or optionally follow my lead right here. Inhale, rock forward, and make the choice to stay on the toes or come to those knees. Exhale for a half push-up, and inhale, look up for cobra on the knees, or shoelace side of the feet, legs up for upward facing dog, and then exhale, curl those toes, lift those hips, ears between those arms, double D, down dog. On the inhale, look forward, step forward, exhale, bend those knees, and inhale, sweep. Nice and tall, right back to heart center. Let's do about 5 or 6 more of those. Inhale up and exhale and fold. Inhaling up to flat back, and exhale, step back to plank. Again, go right from here to down dog, or inhale, rock forward, exhale, choose your version of that push-up knees or toes. Inhale, look up cobra or upward dog pose, and then right back to downward facing dog. Inhale, step or hop forward, bend those knees, exhale, use the power of those legs to sweep up to the sky, and exhale to heart center. Inhale, reach up and exhale, come on down. Inhale, up to flat back, and exhale, step it back to plank. Rock forward, do your version of that vinyasa flow as we come down, and inhale, lift our crown, and then face back down into downward facing dog. Inhale, step or hop forward, bend those knees, exhale, and inhale, sweep up, right back to heart center. Get about 3 more as we inhale and reach, just building the heat up into our bodies. Inhale up, flat back, and exhale, bring it on back. Rock and roll forward, exhale, come on down. Inhale, lift, exhale, face, back down. Inhale, step or hop forward. Exhale into those knees and sweep those hands nice and tall, right back to heart center. Inhale, reach, and exhale, and fold. Inhale, up, flat back, and exhale, bring it back. Rock forward, exhale, come on down. Inhale, lift, and exhale, downward facing dog. Hop or step forward and sink into those legs. Inhale up and exhale 1 more time. Inhale and lift. Exhale and fold. Inhale, up, flat back, and exhale. Bring it back to plank and go through your vinyasa flow. And then find downward dog and stay in downward dog. Stay in downward dog. If you're not in downward dog, let's find downward dog. Good. I'm going to flip over to the other side. Stay here in downward dog. Okay. We're going to come back to plank position, finding some side planks. Finding some side planks. So right hand stays on the ground, left hand lifts up to the sky. So right knee down, or keep those legs long, one foot in front of the other, or stacking those feet. Good. Holding, stacking those shoulders one atop the other. Try to avoid going beyond, and just make our body perpendicular, keeping that hip up. Let's do the same thing on the other side. Bring both hands down back to plank, and then the right hand lifts up. Pardon me for facing away from you, but I'm going to reach up just so you can see. There we go. We're doing some side plank. Excellent job. Holding those hips up, reaching nice and tall, and in control. Let's exhale back to plank position. Let's go back to that left hand up to the sky, and then a couple options right here. You can do a 5-pointed star. You can do a toe lock right here. Or you can bring that top leg up and over behind you, foot flat on the floor, and find wild thing, lifting our heart and hips up to the sky. As we exhale back and come on back, same thing, other side. There we go. Any one of those options, or maybe a little wild thing, top leg comes up and over, and lift those hips and heart up to the sky. Very nice. Let's come right back to that plank position. Right back to that plank position. Drop to those knees, press back. Child's pose. Child's pose. Whew. All right. Very nicely done. Got that heart rate going now. Got our bodies heated up. Now we're going to engage in our sun B flows. We're going to get it going. So let's spread those fingers and let's curl those toes. All right, here we go. Press back up to downward facing dog. Good. Now from here, take that right heel and float it up to the sky. Good. Let's put a little bend in that knee and open that hip. And watch those arms from getting soft. And now 3 knee pulls, right knee to right elbow. As we exhale, shoulders come above those hands. Inhale and bring that right heel up. Do that 2 more times. Open that hip. Exhale, bring it in and lift it up. And on that 4th time through, go ahead and set that right foot between those hands, or move that right foot between those hands, gluing that back foot down, finding warrior 1. Finding warrior 1. Excellent job. I'm going to stay facing sideways right here because I think you'll get a better view of what we're doing. Good. So from warrior 1, deep bend in the knee hovering right above the ankle, both feet on the ground, heel to toe. My left foot's pointing off to the left side. Hips slightly coming forward and shoulders squaring up to the front. And standing nice and tall, strong lower back, squeezing that left glute and creating almost a little shelf right there. Good. So we're going to find humble warrior now. Let's draw those hands behind our back. Behind our back. Interlock those fingers or bring them right to your hips, and then draw those hands down beyond your tailbone. Lifting your heart up to the sky and rolling those shoulders down and away from your ears. Keeping the length from the crown of our head to our tailbone. Begin leaning forward. Hinge. Hinge. Keep that right knee right above that right ankle and hinge. Stay long. The top of our body. From the crown of our head to our tailbone. And then when we're comfortable, drop the crown of our head and float those arms up to the sky. Okay, at any point we're not comfortable, we can release those arms. And just marvel at what we're doing right here. Our ability to use the strength, to use the expression of our strength that we already have, just like the expression of our joy that's just deep down, it's already there. We just need to release it sometimes. Good. All right. From here, strong legs, let's find warrior 2 pose. So lift on up to warrior 1, and then open up warrior 2. Facing your hips and your shoulders towards the left side of the room. Good. Pointing that left foot out just a little bit. Deep bend in that right knee. Whew, feeling something on that, no doubt. Take a nice big inhale, right forearm to the top of that right leg, back hand to the hip or to the sky or overhead, reaching nice and high. Now if you want to go deeper into this pose with that front hand, use that block on the ground or bring that hand to the ground, but just still think about, are we in this pose in a way that makes sense for us? And are my shoulders stacked one above the other and my ribs stacked one above the other? Good. All right, so on a big inhale, let's find reverse warrior. Keeping that front knee bent through warrior two, and then that right hand up toward the sky, palm facing behind us, just keeps our shoulder in neutral position. Left hand either on the leg or on our tailbone or wrapped completely around our waist like a belt. Good. And everything is engaged here, from reaching through our fingertips, on down through our shoulders, and in through our ribs, and even my back glute is still engaged. Flexing that muscle to press my hips forward and keep my body in good alignment. All right, keep that right hand right there. Let's get a little mercy on that front leg. Straighten that front leg. Little bend still in that knee. Arms out to warrior two. Inhale and exhale. Reach as far forward as you can as the hips go in the opposite direction. Then simply tip over. Okay, that's all we got to do. Tip over. That gets our spine into good, healthy alignment. Yeah, it's a nice way to keep our spine feeling happy, happy, joy, joy. That's right. Good. And stacking through our shoulders and our ribs. And then with each inhale, try and feel as if there's a string on your back hip lifting you just a little bit higher. Okay? Try to feel that off the tip of your hip bone, left side. Perfect. All right. As we exhale back to warrior two, we'll bring those arms around and down. Step back to plank position. Let's go through our version of a vinyasa flow. That half push-up, or remember, we go plank to downward dog, and then find downward dog right here. Okay, I'm gonna flip over to the other side. All right. So from downward dog, let's float that left heel up toward the sky. Put a bend in that knee and open the hip. Bend in the knee and open the hip. Good stretch on the left side of our body. 3 knee pulls, left knee to left elbow. Exhale, bring that knee towards that elbow, shoulders over hands, and then inhale and lift it right back up. Okay, drawing it back, ears between those arms. Total of 3 of those. And on the 4th, go ahead and set that left foot between the hands, or move that foot between the hands, gluing that right foot on the ground, and then lifting up, warrior one. Very nice. Whew. Good. Just experiment then with the depth of that front knee in relation to how it feels on your hip and on your back knee and your ankle. Okay, sometimes we can get really deep here and it doesn't hurt this part, but it hurts that part. Okay, all right, humble warrior. Bring those hands behind our back, interlock, and draw those hands down past our spine. Breathe in, get as tall as we can, and then exhale, hinge to the inside of that left leg. Keeping that length, and then drop the crown of the head when you found your depth as we float those hands up toward the sky. Oh yeah, big time heart opener right here. Big time strengthener, our whole body is engaged. All right, a few more breaths right here in humble warrior. So much strength, so much stability, all wrapped into one. On our next big inhale, let's find back to warrior one. Sweep those thumbs up. Good. Exhale to warrior two. Okay, front knee and toes stay right where they're at. Back foot, that right foot points toward the right side of the room. And there we go, warrior two. Nice. Good tall posture here, ears over shoulders, over hips. Move towards right angle pose, take an inhale, and then an exhale. Left forearm to the top of that leg, back hand up to the hip, or sky, or extend that right angle. And again, if you want to go deeper here, use that block or use that floor, or just float that hand. You can always ask your core to do a little extra work right here, and just keep your body stable. Just focus on those shoulders, okay? If you're seeing that those shoulders are closed off and your eyes and your belly button are pointing towards the floor, try and point them towards the wall that you're facing right now. Try and point them toward the side of the room. Excellent. The big inhale, float that left hand up toward the sky, reverse warrior without bending or shifting that front knee at all. Good. Palm to the back of you on that left hand. Giving something behind you a little high five right there. Awesome job, reverse warrior. Lengthen and create that space. Keeping that left hand up toward the sky, lengthen that left leg now. A little mercy right there. Still a soft bend in our knees, arms out. Nice and long, warrior two. Arms, breathe in, and then exhale, reach as far forward as we can. Hips going to the back in opposite direction. Then we tip over. That's it. Triangle pose. Triangle pose. Now I use a block on triangle pose because it feels good. Okay? All right. I don't know too many people that can get to the floor in triangle pose and still keep the integrity of the shoulders. If you can, that's great, but I don't know too many people that can do that. Okay, I've tried, and it's no good. Okay, it's no good for me. Okay, but we're all different. We're all different. Excellent job. As we exhale, back to warrior two. Good, let's bring those arms around and down. Find that plank position, vinyasa flow, and we'll meet back in downward facing dog. I'm gonna flip back over to the other side. Good, from downward facing dog. Float that right foot nice and high into the sky. And then we'll bring that right foot between the hands, crescent pose, which means that back foot stays up off the ground. The back heel stays up off the ground, and we're squaring up hips and shoulders right towards where we're facing, okay? All right, back heel up, which means maybe we're feeling a little stretch right there on the calf and into the heels and the arches, and a good, even deeper stretch in through those hips, okay? Arms up. See, I'm a little wobbly here because there's a little balance related to crescent pose. My front knee is still right above my ankle in a nice deep bend, and I just play around with that to see what makes sense. All right. So we're going to do all sorts of things leaning forward into this. So we'll bring those hands back down to our hips as we lean forward. Those airplane arms, just like that airplane pose we got into. Long spine, crown of our head to our tailbone. Then we're going to find our hands coming forward in front of that right foot. Set them down, float that left foot up off the ground, lengthen that right leg, 3-point balance. From here, we're going to find half moon. Either right hand stays on the ground or onto that block as that left hand floats up toward the hip or up toward the sky. Trying to stack through our shoulders and ribs, and now our hips opening up to the side. And our left toes are also pointing to the side that we're facing, okay? So we have strength there. I'm gonna move just a little bit to the front. Okay, we're gonna add a twist on this. So without setting that left foot down, bring those hands down, square up those shoulders, find the block on the floor with that left hand, right hand floats up toward the sky. So opening our shoulders up to the right side now, hip stands square to the ground, left foot still off the ground. I'm also gonna turn sideways here so you can see that. Good. So that left foot, best we can do in terms of lift is maybe parallel to the ground, but it doesn't matter how high or low that foot is. Okay. As we exhale, both hands down, let's step back to plank position, vinyasa flow, leap back in downward facing dog. Good. Left foot floats up toward the sky. Good, and go ahead and bring it through. Crescent pose. Crescent pose. Now I'm going to switch to the other side. Just a better way to see it. Left foot forward, right foot back, heel up off the ground. Everything squared up to everything that's in front of you. Good stuff. All right. Whew. Now let's start leaning in a little bit, engaging our core, bringing our hands back to those airplane arms, little flight position right here. And then we're going to find 3-point balance. Bring those hands forward in front of that left foot. Float that right heel up off the ground. Good. 2 hands down, 1 foot on the ground, and we'll find that block or the floor with that left hand. Right hand raises to the sky, half moon pose. Half moon pose. Very nice. Breathing, focusing, staying engaged, pointing those right toes toward the right side of the room. Nice. And then bring, without setting that right foot down, bring that right hand down, square up those shoulders onto the block or to the floor, and then that left hand lifts up to the hip or to the sky, opening our heart up to the left side. Now if you're feeling a little risky, try and look at that hand up into the sky. Woo. That gives a little bit extra. All right. Good. Let's bring both hands down. Square up, step back to plank position. Vinyasa flow. We'll be back in downward facing dog. Perfect. All right. From downward facing dog, let's float that right foot up toward the sky. And then we're going to bring that right foot to the outside of both of our hands, outside of that right hand. Okay, so wider stance right there, and find runner's lunge. Runner's lunge, just staying right down here. Okay, so from this runner's lunge, let's go ahead and just set that left knee down. Okay, and just we can stay right there on our toes for now, and just experiment with the depth of this runner's lunge. So maybe take in, if we have a block or a pillow or something, and bringing our elbows down a little bit lower. Okay, or we can also just take that right arm, I'll turn to the side just a little bit more, take that right arm and bring it underneath that right leg, and just walk the hands forward a little bit more, getting that elbow again down to the ground. Okay, lizard pose. Okay, just a little bit deeper into that runner's lunge. Okay, now from runner's lunge, staying right there on that back knee, so the hip is in front of the knee right now. So we'll see that. So the hip's way in front of my knee. I'm going to roll onto the heel of my right foot and bring my left hip above my left knee. So I'm going to come back and just walk those hands back. Stay nice and tall as I can up top. And let's just rock forward and back just a couple times. So come on to that right foot, hips forward, and come on to that right heel, hips back, hovering above the knee. Okay, do that a couple more times. Forward and back. Okay, a couple more times. And what we're doing is we're preparing our leg here for what I call half hero's pose. Half hero's pose. Okay, we're not going to try and be a hero. We're only going to be half a hero today. One more time. Okay, so as we come back, okay, let's bring our hip all the way back to our left heel, right leg still out in front. Okay, so I'm sitting on my left foot and my right heel is on the ground. It walked back just a little bit more, and then I'm going to begin walking my hands forward. So right now I'm straddling my right foot, and then I'm going to experiment, so just playing around. I'm walking my hands out to the left, back center, and out to the right, and back center. See, wasn't it a wise decision to only be half a hero today? Yeah. All right. Good. All right, so let's roll back forward. Let's lift up. Use those hands to press out of this. Yeah, and walk that right foot forward just a little bit more, knee right above the ankle. Now we're going to curl those toes on that left foot, and we're going to go into a really, really wide pyramid. Okay, so we got the toes right here, curled on the left side, deep knee bend on that right, and then begin just lengthening that right leg, walking those hands back, and just imagining the strings attached to your sternum pulling you forward. Okay. All right, so just a little bit longer. We can have a deeper bend in that knee if you want. Okay, but just think about the length of your spine right here as well on those fingertips. Now let's flow through that just a little bit. Deeper bend, rock forward, and then lengthen. Still a soft bend in that knee. And let's do that a couple more times. Deep bend, and then lengthen to that wide pyramid. And that back heel is probably not coming to the ground, and I'm even feeling my front toes lift off the ground. Didn't intend for that, but that's just the way my feet are positioned right now, and there's nothing wrong with that. Good. All right. One more time on the exhale and on the inhale, and then let's find a bend in that front knee, runner's lunge, and on our next inhale, thumbs up toward the sky, crescent pose, back heel stays up off the ground. Excellent job right there. A lot of different things that we were doing right there. So I'm glad you're still along for the ride. From here, we're going to find Warrior 3, a little balance. So lean forward, begin peeling that left foot up off the ground, lengthen that right leg, bring that left heel up, square up hips and shoulders. Okay, my hands can still be back here right by our hips. okay? Or by our heart center or extending forward. And just trying to lengthen our body, squeeze through those glutes into our lower back, just like we did in that spinal balance earlier when we were on all hands and knees. Good. All right. As we exhale, come on down, step back to plank position. One final vinyasa flow right here. Come on down, lift our crown, exhale, face back down. Excellent job. And we're going to bring that left foot up toward the sky. Float it up nice and high. Left foot to the outside of both of the hands. Runner's lunge. Back knee comes on down on the toes or shoelace side of that foot. Okay, I'm going to switch over to the other side just so we can see what's happening. So start exploring now with that runner's lunge. And again, we explore by just coming a little bit forward. Okay, we can play around with coming a little bit deeper onto those elbows or using something to bring the floor closer to our elbows, right? We can crawl that left hand underneath our left knee and get a little deeper into that. We can also come on to the pinky toe side of our foot and let our knee just fall out a little bit. You probably can't see that side view, but a front view, as I'm right here, that knee can open up. Really good way to stretch in through the hip. Okay. All right. So we're going to go into our little half splits and runner's lunge flow now. So let's find a little stability on where we're at. Okay, so my right hip is in front of my right knee, and it's going to end up hovering right above my right knee as I come onto my left heel. So press it back, use those hands, and then come forward. Good, and press back, hamstring stretch. Good, and come forward. Good, stretch through that right hip as we come forward. Good, trying to not overdo it, of course. Good. All right. One more time as we come forward and then back. And then we're going to find that half hero. I'm going to come onto the toes of my right foot so that as I walk back, my left foot still keeps crawling back. Still keeps crawling back. It's moving my mat a little bit. I'm sorry. I'm going to come on the shoelace side of my right foot. Shoelace side. And just sit down onto my right foot. Sit down onto my right foot. And then walk those hands forward towards that right foot, deep stretch through the hamstring, and then walk those hands toward the right side. Get a little stretch on the left side of our body, and then walk those hands back center, and then to the outside of that left leg to the left side. Okay, then right back center, we'll hold for just a little bit. Breathe through it. Good stretch without overdoing it. And then use those hands to elevate off our heel and bring that left foot forward. As we curl now our right toes, we're going to alternate between this runner's lunge and a really wide pyramid. So lengthen that left leg, back heel still up off the ground. Walk those hands in just a little bit to focus on the length, crown of your head to your tailbone. Okay, nice long spine. Rebend that knee. And then walk those hands back, lengthen the leg, still a soft bend in that left knee. Okay, so we're not locking that knee, but we're lengthening that leg. And just alternate between these two. Good. One more time, knee bend, and then lengthen. And then bend that knee, keep that back heel up, and let's find a big inhale to crescent pose. Thumbs to the back of the room. Whoop. There we go, a little wobbly. All right, hey, it happens. It happens. All right. And from crescent pose, we're gonna lean into it and find a little balance, warrior 3. Lean in, begin peeling that right foot up off the ground. Best we can, square up hips and shoulders. Find that calm in the breath, calm in the pose. Good, squeeze through your glutes. Find that confidence, shoulders roll down and away from our ears. We are in control. As we exhale, set both feet on the floor. Good, and just keep our hands right there at heart center. How fine Ujjayi breath. How about a nice big deep inhale and then just let it out. Let's do 2 more of those. Inhale and then exhale. And then last time, inhale and exhale. Nice. Okay. Some balance postures here. I like to, we're going to do tree to standing balance pigeon. Every now and again I like to just really sink into the pigeon, so I take my block and set it out front. We'll start with our right leg on the ground. We're going to take our left knee and toes and point them to the left side. Toes on that left foot toward my shins. Okay, that protects my knee. And then we find a spot, either toes on the ground, ankle above, or heel above the ankle, or on the leg above or below the knee. Start with tree pose. Good. Now if we're on the leg, press the leg into the foot and the foot into the leg. You can almost press as hard as you want. Just press them in. Keep that left knee just pointing to the left side. Hands can be at heart center. You can play around with your version of tree pose. You can create some branches or steeple fingers, whatever makes sense for you today. Find the calm in the breath. Find the calm in the pose. Take 2 breaths in tree. And then our tree's got a pigeon in it today. And so we're going to add that pigeon into our tree. So from here, that left ankle is just going to come on top of our right knee. Toes still towards the shins, making that figure 4 shape. Dropping that left knee down, then sit down into that right leg. Sit down into that right leg. Maintaining the balance, or I've got that block right there. I can rest my fingers on that block, take the balance completely out, and just focus on the stretch on my hip. One last breath, inhale, and then exhale, gently release. Very nice. Good, the same thing, other side, little tree to some pigeon. So, nice strong left leg. Bring those knees and toes on the right side, point it to the right side, and find your expression of tree pose today. Calming our breath, calming our mind a little bit. That helps us stay balanced, not only in this pose, but in general, right? But it all begins with our breath work. Place a little pigeon in our tree, so we crawl that right ankle above our left knee. Keep that right knee open, sit down, bring our tailbone closer to the ground. You can grab that leg if you want to. Just set it where you want to. Right toes toward the shin. Keep them right there. Good. And sink in. Sink in. Good. And on our next exhale, we gently release. All right. Let's bring our hands right to heart center. We're going to find half pigeon on the floor. Inhale up and exhale and forward fold. Inhale up to flat back and exhale hands down and step back to downward facing dog. From down dog, float that right foot up nice and high into the sky and then draw that right knee towards our right wrist and ankle across our mat towards our left wrist. Good. Shoelace side of our left foot, and that left foot's about 6 o'clock behind us. You're welcome to stay right here in proud pigeon, or exhale down onto your elbows, or even lower. Couple of things just in terms of alignments. We can rest our head onto a block or on our fist that keeps our neck and spine in alignment. Or if there's space on the right side of your glute, between the glute and the floor, stuff a little block or pillow under there to try and keep your hips square to the ground. Now, if you're in this pose, or have tried this pose and it's just agonizing for your knee, everybody else stay right here. Let me show you on our back a supinated version. Okay, so just make a figure 4 with your leg, lay down in your back, and that'll give you a very similar stretch without the stress on our knees. Okay, so let's sink into this. Let's sink into this. Just allow ourselves to breathe deeply, find a little solace, a little peace, and some stillness in this pose. Did a lot of movement today, so this one is usually a way to not only get a deep stretch, but also start to just calm and cool our body down a little bit. We'll take about 2 more breaths right here. Just about 2 more. Good. Let's go ahead and spread our fingers out. We're going to press back to downward dog, floating that right leg up to the sky. Remember those hip circles we did earlier? Just do the same thing with that right leg, just to get the blood flow going and just to loosen up through that hip. Good. Both feet on the ground, stay in downward dog. Float that left heel up toward the sky, left knee towards left wrist, ankle towards the right across our mat. Pigeon pose this side. Shoelace side of your right foot, about 6 o'clock behind you is that whole right leg. Find your expression of this pose. Make sure it feels good for you. And breathe. I know for a lot of folks, this particular pose right here is just one where you just sink in, you can settle in, you can totally relax and release. You know, that's not for everybody though, and that's fine. That's fine. But working the hips and working that connection into our hips and glutes, into our lower back, regardless of how we get into that particular area, it's a nice way to loosen up through those hips. We carry a lot of anxiety and stress in our hips. I know oftentimes we feel it's between our shoulders or even at our sternum or on our jaw, even in our hands. But be aware of those hips and how those hips feel. Especially we get a little bit of double dose of hips when we find that we're in a seated position a lot. And then we're carrying stress on top of that. So it's a little bit double dose of hips. And so trying to keep them nice and loose, nice and flexible, feeling good. Hip mobility, super, super important. All right, so let's spread those fingers. Let's float that left leg up toward the sky. And then circle that hip. Good. After that, we'll find a seated position. Let's find a seated position. Very nice. All right. So from this seated position, both feet forward. Toes toward the shins. Inhale up, nice and tall. And then exhale and forward fold. Reach past those feet if you can. Just imagine the crown of your head's going past those feet and the nose is staying away from the knees. So keep the length of the upper body as if the head's going past the feet and the tailbone's going to the back behind you. Just in 2 different planes, just passing towards or away from each other. Good. As we gently release out of that, got about 2 more poses I want to guide us through. I know we're getting close on time, but I'm not really guided by time right now. I'm just guided by, let's do what feels right. So grab onto those knees and interlock those ankles. Come on to our backs and wrap those knees towards your chest. Wrap those arms around those knees. We're going to move towards happy baby pose. So bring those heels up toward the sky and drape the front of our hands across the front of our toes. Okay, the palms of our hands across the front of the toes. I didn't say it the right way. That's okay. And then draw those knees into our armpits. And then a little rock side to side. Relaxing your head. Deep stretch into our glutes and hamstrings. And again, lower back. And just a nice relaxing way to rock side to side. We can go ahead and release when we're ready. The final pose is Shavasana, final relaxation. So we can stay right on the ground. If you're following along on my playlist, Shavasana song Faded, the instrumental version. It's about fifth from the bottom. Go ahead and select that one. I'm going to dim the lights and then guide us through Shavasana. So as we find comfortable spots, lying down on our mats, you can even do Shavasana in a seated position. One final scan of your body and release any muscular engagement and tension that you might be holding on to. Just allow yourself to just sink into the mat and floor beneath you. As we find stillness, as we find our eyes closed, as we find our ability to settle and calm down, is what you did for yourself today an expression of joy? Is what we did today on our mats something that we can mirror in our life? Can we express joy based on how we feel right now? As we find stillness of our body, it allows our body, it allows our minds to interact, to really find the full appreciation of what we just did for ourselves. That joyful act of taking care of ourselves. That's what we just did. So we find that expression of joy right here. A couple more deep breaths. Maybe even little mini Ujjayi breaths. Inhale and exhale out the mouth. I want to finish with a passage that one of my yoga mentors, Tracy, has shared with me. She led my group in India. She's an amazing woman. Oftentimes when the world feels chaotic, we begin to feel as if somehow it's inappropriate to have joy. Have your joy. Joy is a form of radical self-care. Joy energizes us to take on even the most difficult circumstances. And when we have joy, especially in the midst of challenging times, we are saying to the world, I will define the current states of the world around me instead of it allowing it to define me. So today, regardless of what is happening, empower yourself by finding your expression of joy. I honor the love and light in you as it's also within me. Namaste.